Hello, programmers and vibe coders. I've actually done it. I've combined two of the most useful systems that I've found in my life, and the combination is incredible. On the left here, we have Claude Code, which is an agentic coding tool. You can tell it to do things. For instance, I could tell it to make a file. I'll just say, hello, make a text file with the text hello world, right? Named jacob.txt. I'll just execute that and we'll see that the file will be created. It will prompt me if I want to make the file and it will make the file. So what have I actually created here? Well, on the right here we have Dolphin Smalltalk, and if you're familiar with this channel you'll know what it is. But it's basically a Windows application that is a development system, and let me show you some of the GUIs that it can make. This is the main window here, and we can see that there are some sample applications. For instance, let's just look at the, what should we look at here? Plimble. This is just a fun application. Okay, it's not the best, but you can see that it's functional. Here's some more Windows applications. You can see that the styling is basically Windows styling. Dolphin Smalltalk is a Windows program. Here's an Etch-a-Sketch. But what if we could combine the agentic coding system with a dynamic system like Smalltalk and Dolphin? And the agentic system could actually create the GUIs for us. It could inspect the system live to make sure that it's running and debug everything. And it just had full control of our entire system. It could even browse the source code of methods by itself just to figure out how to do stuff. Well, that's what I've created. I've created a bridge between Claude Code and Dolphin Smalltalk. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to tell it to show me a shell view. I'm going to say open a shell view in Dolphin. And if this works, a window should pop up shortly. I'm going to accept this command. And there it is. There's the shell view. Now I can tell it to do things. I can tell it to add a text field that says hello world to the shell view. And it should just add that. Let's look at it, and probably gonna have to accept this. Yeah, you can also run this in skip dangerously permissions mode, so you don't have to accept every time. And you can see it got an error. It failed to create the window. So what I'm gonna do is tell it to do this a little differently. I'm gonna tell it use the. Let me check the class I have here. In the TCP server, we have a variable that can hold shell views. So let me see if I can find it. Add shell view. Let's see. Yeah. Um, Let me check the instance variables here. Hold on one second. Cloud response current server current shell view. Actually, that was an earlier version of my code where it could store all the shell views, but I'll just tell it to make a new class variable. Make a new class variable, ordered collection and accessors, and make it so you can add shell views and other views to it so you can work on them in the future. So I'll just tell it to do that. And theoretically, if this is working, you'll see some new methods pop up here. It's going to try to check the class variable names. You can see in my system transcript, you can see all the messages it's sending. And you can see that it's trying to find out, it actually executed bad code here, but yeah. Let me just tell it that it's being stupid. Claude Code TCP server is already a class. You don't need to send the class message. So you can see we have interaction with the agent, and it's going to continue doing what it's doing. Now it's compiling code. The code didn't compile. And let me see if it gets this. Yeah, okay. So it compiled that one. You can see that it compiled here because it returned this method name, and it just compiled a code. So you can see the code it compiled is right here. Get managed views. So it just created this. Now this doesn't work because this message is not understanded. Um, I'll just tell it managed views is not a method. You throw that exclamation mark in. Okay, so it realizes it's a mistake and it's creating it. Now it's going to create an accessor. You can see that there's a get managed views accessor. And fix the get managed views method. Managed views is not a method. So yeah, it's not the most intelligent, but what you can tell it to do is to look through the source or look through the Git repo, and it'll work its way through everything. And I've added a lot of information to the Claude MD file so it can actually use Dolphin properly. And I'm sure Smalltalk is in its training data, but it doesn't really have the Dolphin in its training data because Dolphin isn't on the internet that much. So apparently it's created this method, and you can see that that updated live. So now it's an ordered collection. So now I'll say, okay, now create the new shell view and add it to the ordered collection so we can work on it further. So it's going to go ahead and create the shell view, add it to the ordered collection. Okay, open the shell view. Now it's claiming that the shell view is open. Okay, it is. Not sure which one it is. It's probably this one on the left. So now I'm going to tell it to make the shell view bigger and add a text field. Hello world. So there it goes. And you can see we can construct GUIs. Now there is a system that I have also created, which is a format for the GUIs that it can create so that it doesn't have to do it all in code, and the GUIs can be serialized to a file. I'm going to go ahead and load that right now. Let me go into my Smalltalk folder here. And so we have this calculator GUI. Let me see here. I can find the GUIs. So we have a calculator.gui file, and I'll tell it to load it. Load the calculator.gui file. Let's see if that works. And the calculator is a file that it created itself. And it should be opening that. Let me check. Okay, there it is. So it created that GUI. So you can have it create GUIs for you. And I don't think this is fully functional, but it's just an iterative process. 9 plus, yeah, there's an error on this plus button, but I could tell it to fix that. So you can see this is very powerful because Dolphin's a fully dynamic reflective system. It can modify methods on the fly. For instance, you could develop a game in this, and you could run the game, and you could have the system modify the code of the AI in the game. live while the game is running. So I think this is a very powerful system. Let me show you another interface I had it make. This Claude Interactive Complete. So this is how I can call back into Claude. I just made this real quick. I can say what is 10 times 200, and then I can send that message and it will call Claude. And the message will appear right here, 2000. And I can also make this work on stuff, so it's not limited to just the Claude Code window itself. I actually don't need this Claude Code window. I could develop fully in this, or I could create a different interface, or I could just use the workspace and send messages to Claude. And so yeah, that's my system. I'm going to release it open source probably tomorrow or tonight. And I think this is amazing. If you think about it, we have all these agentic systems like Claude Code, but Claude Code is limited to, let's say, 50 tools, maybe 100 tools, I don't know. And it can do certain operations. But what if your agentic system had a full programming language behind it? What if it could create GUIs dynamically? It could modify the GUI you're working with as a development system. It could debug code on the fly. It could change everything. What if you had all that power? So now you have an agentic system where it can do anything. It's not just limited to a certain number of tools. It could create its own tools. It could, load C++ code. It could do whatever you want, really. You have the full power of a full programming system. And I'm really excited about this, and I'm going to release the code. If you want to check, there'll be a link to the Git repo in this video, but you can also check Zenchess on GitHub. So yeah, that's my spiel, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.